just want to quickly glance over the USA national side again and talk about the World Cup in 2027. Because the rumours about USA wanting to host that, I know Argentina have pulled out of the running for it. I think that this could be the big turning point for rugby in the USA. Because with MLR, if it's grown for the past 7 years, for those 7 years, you get to World Cup, you get to the pinnacle. If the USA national team can do well, we saw how crazy it was in Japan, how good the fans were over there. And maybe you could say rugby in Japan is a little bit more down the road, maybe 10 years ahead of the USA maybe. But a World Cup could make a massive difference. Would you want a World Cup in the USA?
So, I have a bucket list like most people for life, and one of my bucket lists is to attend a Rugby World Cup final. Mm-hmm. So, obviously, anytime there's a big game in Chicago, it's a non-question with my wife. It's like, I'm going to the game. Like, you can come or not come, but I'm going to the game. So there's no question that a Rugby World Cup in the United States is something I would long for. Is 2027 the right year? I don't know whether that or 2031. I think they need to throw their hat in the ring at some point just to get the pot boiling, so to speak. I just don't know that that's the time. Logistically, I think it's the logistics are one of the biggest issues. As we know, the World Cup is traditionally played in the fall, at least for Northern Hemisphere teams in our fall. So we're talking about anywhere from end of September to beginning of November, right? What are we up against? Well, we're up against the biggest American sport, American football, right? And the problem is that and this is the biggest, again, obstacle. Can it be worked through? I think it can. It's going to take a lot of moving parts to work. But here's the big problem. What size stadiums do you need, even during pool stages, to have a successful World Cup? You need probably a minimum of 20,000 seats. You probably are looking for more closer, even for your tier 2 nations when they stand off, for probably 20 to 30,000. And for your top tier teams, you need 45 to 60,000, right? So what stadiums in the US are able to hold that are grass, by the way, right? Rugby at a World Cup level, I don't think the World Rugby is going to want any final played on a turf, and they're probably not going to want, I would say, any games at this juncture to be played on turf as we know it. So it needs to be natural grass. Well, most football stadiums that can accommodate 60,000 to 100,000 are artificial turf. The reason Chicago was selected as a location for New Zealand, USA, for USA, Australia, for New Zealand, Ireland, which is a great match. I was there. It was arguably one of the in modern times one of the best matches that we've seen. It was fabulous. But Soldier Field is a natural grass field, and if you look at the touch, the end zone lines, they were short. Is World Rugby willing to accept that? Yeah. So and then even if you can find the pitches that work, are there football teams that play in those pitches? Are you going to conflict with Chicago Bears, and can you get Soldier Field to be consistently used for 5 pool games? Five pool games over the course of what, 2 weeks? Yeah, 3 weeks. You're not going to get. I don't think so. So there's some issues. Now in Chicago itself, we have SeatGeek Stadium, which holds 20,000. The Chicago Fire had played there, but they grew too big for that stadium. That's why they're not playing the season they were supposed to play at Soldier Field. So I think there's some. For me, there's some logistic issues. And by the way, we're not like like Brazil with the World Cup of Soccer. Where we're building stadiums exclusively for the World Cup. That's not happening in the United States. You need existing structures, and I just don't. Logistically, I don't know that they check all the boxes. That's the biggest entity that stands in our way.
Because if USA are going to build all these new stadiums, you want to think, okay, there's a plan for this. There's a plan that these stadiums are going to be used. As you said, in Brazil, those stadiums just sitting there empty, doing nothing, and the cost. Okay, yes, it's incredible for the game. You get the advertising, you get the broadcasting, you get everything like that. But that is only for a month, compared to 20 years down the line. We've got an empty stadium here, which is rotting away, and it's not being used.
Yeah, and you're spot on. You're absolutely spot on. And by the way, those were financed. A lot of those were financed by the government. I mean, even like where's the next Soccer World Cup is coming up? Isn't it in
2022?
Is it in the air?
Qatar. It's in Qatar.
Yeah, that's financed by the government, right?
Mm.
The government is not financing new stadiums. As a matter of fact, what's finances new stadiums are individual owners and local governments, and they don't have the kind of cash to do that. Certainly not for rugby. And we saw in the case of St. Louis with the with the St. Louis Rams. The St. Louis wasn't going to be held hostage to building a football stadium, and they would have gotten 60,000 every weekend. So that's why the Rams moved to LA, because they were willing to publicly finance it. So I just don't know that it's viable. I mean, even right now, as we see, SeaTac Stadium, which holds 20,000, they're really looking for. I think they're hurting now that the MLS team is pulled out of there. So it's got to be financially viable all year round, and it's not going to happen unless something logistically can be worked out with the NFL, or we might have to change the window of when it happens. The advantage is we can take advantage of the varying climate. We can play during the off season, January, February. In Florida and Houston, and they have a dedicated stadium down there in Viva. I think it seats 5,000, but it's far short right now of what you would need. But Houston, LA, Arizona, all that in the southern part of the United States, New Orleans, Atlanta, they certainly can play there, and there are some domes. But again, do you have natural grass? I mean, even Arizona. Even Arizona is a covered pitch. Now they have natural grass that they move in, but it is they can close the roof. But Atlanta's totally enclosed; it's an artificial turf. So they'd have to change the window of when it's played. Of course, soccer is willing to do it now that so maybe World Rugby would be willing to do it if it financially made sense for it to happen in the United States.